controversial subjects with the facts can be tense, but we are Ace Up Science here to make things make sense.
So we are talking about face cream.
Yes.
Do you use face creams?
So here's what I'll say. I don't have a lot of experience. I've definitely tried, face masks. I have some of those that, for me, I mostly do it in the winter because I get really bad dry skin. So even whether it's a face mask, whether it's moisturizer, whether it's like trying other products, the only products I've ever bought myself are just like general face cream or hand cream. And then I have had some face masks, for those relaxing evenings where you just want to like chill out and feel like part of a routine or part of a ritual.
But they're always like ones we got in Korea that are like a tiger face. And it's like so funny because you're quote unquote
you walk
relaxing.
In on me and I'm just like some freaky animal.
But it actually looks like a clown.
So yeah, I would say I don't really have a face regime. I don't really wash my face that often either. I don't know. Do you? I know that sounds weird, but because I have dry skin, if I wash it too often, I'll get dry. Like weirdly, I don't usually have this happen in the summer, but I did just put face cream on today because I was like, I'm kind of weirdly dry for the summertime. Like maybe the air has been particularly dry. Usually in the winter, I have much drier skin, like all over my arms and legs and
well, I kind of want to go into our studies because I think it's going to inform our conversations even about our own skincare routines. Because I do think that, like mine. Okay, I'm going to talk about my study. So when I'm going to be talking about retinol, because I just finished a book about skin, The Mysterious Life of Skin, fascinating, great scientific book. And they really helped break down how a lot of the skincare industry is like, for lack of a better scientific word, bullshit. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of...
That's always been sort of not to say I didn't think anything would work, but it is an industry that I feel like does sort of prey on people's insecurities and makes claims that are clearly pseudoscientific, even if some aspects I believe probably work. I've always been a little like, okay, obviously it's a massive money-making machine that's going to make these kind of claims that connect to people.
Sometimes even just the way they advertise it, I'm like, you're doing too much, that it's actually making me just like not believe. So clinically proven to reduce wrinkles, quote unquote, like if you see something that says that, like that means it could just be under a microscope. Like it could be like, could reduce wrinkles, for example, like you said, in vitro. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's actually going to be something you can physically see on your skin or make a difference like to the human eye. That's kind of interesting. Dermatologically tested, could have been tried out on one person.
Really?
It could have been tested on like the person's like parent. It could have had a sample size of 10. Yes.
Just because there's no regulation around this?
There's no regulation around this in the UK. There's not really regulation around this in Canada or America. Wow. So if those are the the world
easy
is
to make
huge,
claims,
but it's like very easy to make claims compared to other things like food. It's not as regulated. Active ingredients. Again, could have been tested in a lab. Like an active ingredient doesn't necessarily have to work on humans. So every time you see these types of words, it's obviously exciting, but it can be marketing ploys, or there's ways to get around it so that you can put that on your products without it actually being completely false.
Yeah, having looked at this briefly, it reminds me of some other spaces where there are words that get used in this industry, even things like hypoallergenic, which gets used with dogs or animals,
or gluten-free on like water bottles.
Well, that's actually gluten is at least a scientific term that like a scientist would recognize, but
but
hypoallergenic
people say gluten-free on things that don't
it's gluten-free. You're like, it's a water bottle, why would there be gluten in
Wait, so what was that though? The hypoallergenic?
Hypoallergenic, as an example, is actually not a term that scientists would use. It's a marketing term that gets used to describe something that would not necessarily make you have an allergic reaction, but it was, you know what I mean? So that sometimes the industry can create terms that seem scientific, which aren't actually used by scientists.
Interesting. So this book really sort of went through a lot of the false claims when it comes to skin cream, and it ended up with sort of one actual dermatologist-backed, scientifically proven way to reduce wrinkles.
Like wrinkles specifically is what we're talking about?
Yes. Okay. And it is retinol, which is very popular in the skin world, like just doing my research.
Because of that claim?
Well, like this, when I was reading it, I was like, okay, fascinating. But I think a lot of people have known this for a long time, especially people who are really interested in, as we said, we're not like that good at skincare considering we're gay. It's a stereotype. But so to start, there's a lot of products that have that advertise antioxidants as something that help with wrinkles. So that could be like vitamin C, vitamin E, selenium. Like these are things that you'll see on products.
Okay.
And there's not very good science behind it. There's small group sizes. They don't really know how stable these antioxidants even are when applied to your skin. They don't really know how deep they absorb. So it's not necessarily saying it's bad. It's just like the science isn't really there
Supporting it. Okay.
from like a meta-analysis perspective.
Right.
You can pick and choose and find your studies and like go ahead if it makes you feel good, go for it. Whereas like retinol, which is a breakdown product of vitamin A, has been found to, while topically applied to your skin, decrease wrinkles. And other interesting thing that's also really important is like one of the most effective ways to do this is to just eat like peppers and carrots and things with vitamin A. Like that's a really great way to make your skin actually look healthier.
Oh my gosh, do you remember that episode of Magic School Bus where they're eating the seaweedies or whatever and then they find out it's like carrots and like his skin turns orange and then they realize it's like keratin inside of it?
Yes, okay, that's so interesting. There is a strong connection between eating the vegetables high in vitamin A and you actually having skin that people appear to look quite healthy.
Really?
Yes, like yes.
So I mean, I guess it's not that surprising that eating healthy foods would help.
Exactly.
Like, I actually don't know.
No,
but it just
no,
feels
it's
like
true. It's
intuitive.
like so many things. Like people want a magic serum, but really it's about getting good amounts of sleep, having a
vegetables
healthy
are the magic
diet.
serum.
Yeah, have a healthy diet, working out. Like all these things are always like the most important. There's also genetic factors.
That is so annoying though. You know, and it's like, well, you actually have to work hard for it.
Well, I don't know. I think it's interesting because the book talked a lot about studies where they asked to tell whether someone was more tanned than another person, and even and if they. Okay, some person who was not actually more tanned than someone else, but who ate more vitamin A, like carrots and vegetables, appeared to the viewer to be more tanned. So it's like
maybe it's like they appeared to have healthier skin.
Yes,
not necessarily from like a pimple perspective or something, but from that sort of like color perspective. You mean
exactly?
That,
They
like,
actually
glow or
appeared
that-
more tanned. Like that's obviously what the
Interesting.
Magic School Bus was like taking a
It can impact your skin.
hyperbolic approach to, but it can impact your skin. So it's like again,
Oh my God,
it's like,
okay, we need to buy some carrots immediately.
well, if you haven't noticed, I've been eating like literally just like raw peppers into my mouth. But it's like that's just an example.
you
Like
do that. It is.
I mean, I do that all the time, but even now more than ever.
I'm like, ugh.
But I
boring.
think that like that is an example of like people want a magic serum to just rub on their face. But to me, I'm like eating delicious vegetables and peppers isn't that hard. Like if you know that
Sure.
information, it's like that's also a great way, or maybe it's another reason to just be more healthy.
I'd
and
like
eat
to
your
throw out a
veggies.
caveat that both of us, at least now, don't experience very many skin problems. So I think it's easy. Like, of course, people want a magic serum, and some people will probably eat really healthy and still have bad skin. So I just want to like make sure we acknowledge that.
Oh,
that
for sure.
It's not
Yeah.
just your food. Like, there's a lot of factors here. Obviously, your genetics, your life circumstance, your environment are going to impact your skin, whether it's from a color level, a grease level, a pimple level, those kind of things. And I know it can probably be really frustrating for people who suffer from skin issues when they hear like two people will be like, you just have to eat carrots.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I'm just talking about people who like want to get a tan. It's like, don't go in the sun.
And you're mostly talking about wrinkles, right?
I'm talking about wrinkles, and I'm
yeah.
just talking about like appearing like literally
Right. Healthy
tanned.
skin, yeah.
Like it's actually about whether or not someone appears tanned or not. It's like if you eat like vegetables high in vitamin A, you will be perceived to be more tan than someone who
Wow,
doesn't.
that is actually the best campaign for vegetables.
I know, because we got to think of other ways. Although it's like I don't know how.
Wait,
how
can we
many-
make a video that's a parody of like a face cream ad that is just eating vegetables?
Honestly, so much of this
Let's do
book
that.
is like is about that. It's like you can't just rub things on your face. You just have to like eat healthy and go to sleep. Okay. Anyways.
But can we rub peppers on her face as the joke?
I mean, that might be a little misleading, but like, why not? Let's go for it.
And it'll be like pepper. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or
Like
we
one
can
of
just
those
bite
like,
it.
cheesy ads, like a Drag Race like parody.
Yeah.
Whenever they do those like ads for like their
carrot, nom, 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 like a rabbit. So yeah, skin. This is about now. We're focusing on wrinkles. Back into this study, it's about wrinkles. So skin aging is very complex. It's genetics, it's metabolism, it's hormones, but it's mostly sun exposure, especially white people. I'm looking at me and my ancestors. Okay, get the hell out of the sun because you do age horribly. We age horribly. Okay, compared to other skin.
Well, having
types.
light skin would mean that your body is sort of meant to not be like in regions where you wouldn't get intense sunlight.
Yeah, and
anyway.
it's like-
so then
so
going
then
when you
don't
go
go in it.
when you go to the intense sunlight regions to sit in the sun all day long, that is obviously intense.
Oh my god.
But we
okay.
kind of talked about. So I I didn't realize that not everyone had this because you don't, but I think a lot of people do. When the sun touches my skin, it feels so good that I've always assumed in my life that it has to be, not that everything that feels good is good for you, obviously, but when I'm outside and it's kind of cold, I'm like uncomfortable. As soon as the sun comes, like I do love sitting in the sun because there's something, I don't care about being tanned at all. You know, I've gone through phases where I want to be more or less tanned, but ultimately it just feels so nice to sit in the sun to me.
Yeah, whereas I'm like, it's like
It's
the
painful
last
too.
thing
Yeah,
I wanna
you
do.
like don't, not that you don't sit in the sun. Sometimes you do, but I think you do it more if you wanted to tan in the past.
Yeah, or if I'm swimming and drying off, like it's
Right.
like it's not
But I could just
that's particularly
I could
enjoyable.
just do it as a mechanism to feel relaxed.
Okay, well, another part of this book talks about it's about 20% of people actually get a sort of physiological high from being in the sun, and that is an issue for some people because in
Right.
general
Can be
it's not good to
addictive.
be in the sun, and some people
Yeah.
it can be addictive. Yes, to literally get, people get addicted to tanning.
Of course, yeah.
For like reasons being they think that they look better when they look in the mirror,
Yeah.
but also because it actually makes them physiologically feel good, almost like eating junk food or something like that. But it's not good. It's not good. It's not good for your skin.
Yeah. I'm curious, before we jump into my study, I
didn't even
Oh my
do
gosh,
my
you're not done.
study.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, I'm
Really
like,
sounded like you were done.
I'm like, what? I have to explain what I'm saying.
Wait, okay, what are you saying then?
Okay, I guess I just started with the
Really
answer.
founded like you wrapped that one up, but okay.
Wait, really?
Yeah, no, I maybe I'm wrong. No, just
No, I was just trying to say like retinol.
Yes.
So they're called retinoids, which is like if you look at products, retinaldehyde, retinoic acid, retinol esters are what can be topically added to your skin to affect cellular differentiation by increasing proliferation of the epidermis and can cause thickening of your skin. So they actually have physiological, cellular, biological pathways that they understand as to why topical application of retinol and its like counterparts can help with wrinkles.
I'm literally like, hey, throw out the carrots, buy the retinol.
Yeah. Well, or both.
We were like, everyone just wants a miracle drug. It's like, actually get me that.
That's what I mean. That's why I was like, I wasn't done. I'm like, you can use retinol, but it's like, you have to start really small and low because it does thin your epidermis. And so, for example, don't do it in the morning because it actually makes you, in some cases, more susceptible to sunlight.
Oh,
but
that's scary.
Yeah, but most of the time people will say on the bottle like it's a nighttime serum. And it can cause a lot of irritation. Like it's actually
I hate that.
affecting your ability to essentially generate from your dermis into your epidermis skin. It's affecting your body in an interesting way that it's not just like a passive cream, which is also kind of interesting.
Okay, I'm going back to carrots.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of
Use at your own
crazy
risk.
because to talk about my own skincare thing, like when I do it, I honestly started
You
doing
haven't?
it. No, I don't. Like I realized what I like buy is a lot of these things. It's like vitamin C and vitamin A, and it is BS. And I honestly have always thought it is BS. It was a bit of a coronavirus thing where I was like, I need
have a little like ritual.
Yeah, it was a ritual. It's like it always in my head has been about me feeling better and me feeling grounded, not actually affecting my skin. And now reading this book and understanding these studies, I'm like, oh yeah, that's exactly what it was because none of it has retinol. And now I ordered retinol.
But I wonder, sometimes I'm like,
No, I'm done.
I love science, obviously, but sometimes I'm just like, would I be better off being ignorant and having the placebo effect of all these positive things?
I mean,
Because obviously
exactly,
that ritual.
but that's what
do
I
you
mean. I'm
think
not
you
gonna
can
stop.
Okay, fair. But sometimes people, like, there's a lot of studies that show sometimes placebo actually ends up making something happen. Not to say that your placebo will fix your skin, but there are examples of placebo in and of itself giving people certain attributes in their life in certain studies.
That's
Fine.
funny. It's like knowing too much about science means that you can't have like any of the positive
Sometimes,
effects of
yeah, I
placebo.
wonder about that, or just the
never
positive
thought that.
psychological effects of different tricks and stuff that if you know they don't technically work when studied, then you're like, oh, I wish I just kind of lived in ignorance for that because that kind of made me feel good.
Yeah, well, let's get into your study because it's about moisturizer, which
Yes.
is another sort of acute thing you can do to your skin. So it's not like when you're applying moisterizers,
You're getting nothing.
you're
out of
getting
it.
like you might
Right.
look in the mirror and be like, oh, I think I
are
look
you?
better.
You don't know my study. You don't know my study yet, girl. Okay. Okay, so mine is, does face cream moisturizing effect actually help anything?
Okay, cool.
That's the big question. Because, yes, I'd say that's kind of the main property that most face creams have. At the very least, they're moisturizing is what they claim to be, on top of whether it's like anti-wrinkle with collagen and all those things that you were talking about.
Okay, collagen does not work. Anything that has collagen in it, the molecule is too large to get into your body when applied topically. So if you see something like a cream that's like claims to have collagen and help your wrinkles, BS. Continue.
Good to know. I think all my face masks have that on them.
I know, me too. And I'm like, what?
So basically, what I never had really thought about before, but this study set up, was that dry skin in and of itself isn't a medical concern, right? So from the medical community, just having dry skin, there's not really a major negative impact on your health. The main concern for sort of average dry skin is discomfort for people. So that's a real concern, but it's not necessarily medical. However, there are, on the extreme end, serious cases that can result in cracks and fissures that invite infection and inflammation.
So some can be bad.
If you have really dry skin, then yes, it can lead. So there is a good enough reason to want to keep your skin moisturized. Moisturized. And but I'd say for the general population, obviously, like when my skin's dry, I can get itchy, but I've never been like, oh my gosh, I'm so dry that I'm cracking or bleeding or something like that, which I do think happens. So that's what this study was looking at. Can moisturizer help the serious medical implications of very dry skin? Make sense?
Yes.
So it was testing the effectiveness of creams in minimizing specifically something called skin tears. And they were using a group of aged care residents. So elderly people who probably are more prone to dry skin and obviously these cracks would cause a more serious issue if they were to get infected or something like that.
Yeah.
Basically, they had two random groups made up of these elderly patients. One did daily moisturizing twice, and the other just stuck with their usual skincare routine, whatever it was.
So it could have been maybe 4 times if they were really into it, or none at all.
Probably not. I think most of them weren't necessarily doing skincare routines.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
From what I gathered. And then they collected data over 6 months to see, does this moisturizing actually help them over the long term? So here are the results. There were...
You stop talking.
I'm trying to...
The podcast ends.
So by the end of it, 400... Okay, let me get the right numbers. 1,396 skin tears were recorded over the period that happened on 424 residents. So over the 6 months, that's how many skin tears happened, based on like their testing of the skin and stuff. Wow. But what they found was that applying moisturizer twice daily reduced the incidence of skin tears by almost 50%.
Wow.
So most of those skin tears, like twice as many, were happening in people who just stuck to their regular regimen.
So this is very much talking about moisturizer as an actual effective thing for something that is dangerous. Like, that's interesting. I've never thought of it.
And maybe not as dangerous for the quote unquote average person, but still relevant to know, especially as we all age, especially when you're in
climate. Doing something.
For me, in the winter, I get really dry skin. I know some people who wash their hands a lot, especially with coronavirus, but some people have like compulsive
and
needs
healthcare
to wash
workers,
their hands,
people
so
who work in
cracking their
hospitals.
hands. And if your hands are bleeding and cracking, like for sure, this is a really important thing that you can be doing is moisturizing your skin, because basically all it's doing, and while I was reading this, it was like all face creams, moisturizers do this to the same extent. Like there's not necessarily one kind that's better than the other. They're really all just trying to hold water in your skin. Most face creams and moisturizers, the main ingredient is water, and they're mixed with oils, different kinds, to either lock it in, because if you just push water on your face, it just falls off. So they're either bringing water to your skin and holding it on so that it gets plump and nice, or they're locking the oils or locking the water that's already there in so it doesn't evaporate off. But yeah, for the general population, if you have dry skin on your face or body, definitely moisturizer is an effective way to reduce that.
Wow. Okay, cool.
I didn't know that people just used to use Vaseline. And then the reason they stopped doing it, and it was really, really effective, but it just makes you really greasy.
And now that like it's kind of like hip and cool to look like dewy, I'm like, people should just go back to rubbing Vaseline on their face.
Some probably do. Maybe, isn't there a really funny Benny Yama video where he just like covers, he's like, oh, he's doing a face regime and just like takes like a swab of Vaseline and covers his whole face. But people used to do something. So it's not that you can't use Vaseline, and I think now people might be worried about like clogging pores. I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't looked into it, but the studies and sort of like I was reading like a Harvard Health article about this, was saying that was a perfectly effective way, and it just makes your skin really greasy, which people didn't like.
Wow. Okay. So if you want to take away our skincare routine for today, moisturizer still in. Get it. Moisturize, especially if you have dry skin. It's helping to keep the like moisture plumpness to your face. Another thing in this book was saying is that, yeah, a lot of the time when people apply things that have collagen in them, even though the collagen isn't helping with your wrinkles, the moisturizing properties of that cream are going to make, when you look in the mirror, yourself look and feel.
Typically face masks and stuff, even if they're saying collagen improving wrinkles, maybe it's not going to do that, but it's still moisturizing your face. This is what I mean. It's not it's not only trying to do that. Almost every product is a moisturizer.
Yeah, and that's also a really like fun part, I think, about if I had an intense skincare routine, would maybe just be that. Applying the things, looking and being like, oh, I feel moisturized.
I also want to say though, why we got to be so scared of wrinkles, you know?
Well, that's a really interesting aspect of,
is there a
all
negative
of this.
impact to like a health impact, like, or is it purely aesthetic to quote unquote not look old? I've done so many quote unquotes.
It's I mean, this is a deeper conversation. I think it has a lot more to do with our Western. Okay, let's frame this as, I can only speak to the culture that we sort of live in, which is like very American. We live in North America. We're Canadian, but inundated with American culture. I think it's probably very similar in Britain and other like Anglo-Saxon places that I'm trying to think of, colonized places. But there's an obsession with youth. There really is. Like even what we were talking about earlier with like, or maybe we weren't talking about earlier, but like music, like even just like who is popular. Right. Like it's very challenging as people age to still sort of be like glorified and held up on a pedestal. Like, so there's a cultural thing there where we are obsessed with youth, and a lot of that could maybe be linked to like quote unquote, I just did it, beauty, that like we are thinking that young people are beautiful, which is in fact, in my opinion, not true. There's like so many beautiful aspects.
Ugly.
Well, there's like, well, I mean, it's just like beautiful aspects of like being wise and being old. And it's like, as I age, I am like, it's interesting how you maintain, I feel like being attracted to people your same age and older. Like it's just like when I look around and I see like a 23-year-old, I'm like, oh yeah, that like, looks like a weird child. But
no, I know what you're saying.
Also, death. Like I also think it is. It's like wrinkles are a brilliant example of the passing of time. The fact that your physical being is now aging. So I think when people aren't wanting wrinkles, if they really stop and think about it, I'm like, in my head, it's maybe linked to those two things. Like on one hand, it's just being like, I think that younger people are more attractive. And I think that like, we are obsessed and told that young people without wrinkles are beautiful. And B, I think that they might look at the wrinkles and think, oh my God, I'm one step closer to...
Like it reminds you of the inevitability of death in life.
Maybe. I mean, that's what I think. What do you think? Like you asked the question. Like
I think you're totally right. I think that is like most of society. I would imagine most societies, even if other cultures appreciate and respect their elders more, I think there's always in every culture this sort of like glorification of youth and beauty, which in some ways is healthy and okay. Of course, we want to celebrate young people because even their minds are so unique and interesting and all those things. So I think it's more than just the anti-death or the anti-aging, and there's like something beautiful about like what young people are.
But there is something to be said about getting your sort of like emotional, intellectual head around aging and learning to love the concept of aging. That would make you save a bunch of money on skin creams. You know what I mean? Like make you sort of not have to like maybe spend money on like Botox or these things. And I think a lot of people do participate in that culture for a variety of reasons that aren't necessarily like, it doesn't mean that you're like mentally unhealthy at all. But I'm just like, I sometimes think, because we all fall for it. I fall for it too. Like I'm still like look at some of my age, and if they talk about, I don't notice it much, but if they talk about how they don't have wrinkles or how they got Botox, I might be like, oh wow, cool. Yeah, like you actually don't. That's amazing. Like I might be like, that's amazing. It's like, well, why am I saying that? But I do think that there is probably like a good point to stop and think like, why am I doing this? Not to fix anything, but just to think about it and like investigate it, I guess.
I think for me, something going forward that I could get into is I do like the idea of rituals. I think rituals can be really important. And if you actually take the time to have it slow you down and appreciate it as this sort of like, instead of just slapping it on because it's gonna like quote unquote not give you wrinkles or all these things that you're thinking about. If it's actually like, no, it makes me, it's like, you know, brushing my teeth, then I do my face, then I have my shower. Like, it can be nice in that way. Or maybe it's my relaxed wind down of like, I'm taking care and I'm actually being aware of the skin on my body and thinking about those things. I think there's something nice about that, that I think rituals provide a sort of mental health or clarity, or like you said, meditation, that if you do it consciously, then I think that can be really nice. And I like it for that reason. Like, when I know you have a few things, and there's been times when we just kind of have like a chill night, and maybe we like have a bath together, and then we both do the little face things, and it is really nice. It can be. It just feels nice. It smells nice. It gives you this sense of sort of relaxation. And I know that's a construct in some ways, because these smells, we've been told, give us this and this. You know, you're like,
it's like, we got to stop talking about this. We got to keep that placebo alive. Like,
true. No, I think you can build ritual knowing that ritual can also be an important way to get into a zone, get into a mood faster than you could just sitting there. If you want to relax, a ritual can like bring you somewhere faster.
For me, I'm like, oh, that's actually so true. But so often I like bought it for that reason. But now I'm just like, slip, slop, slop. Like, I'm just like, it's just like, oh, I'm just
right. You
like,
get used to it, and then you're like, put it on. Yeah.
Wait, I'm not getting that part of it, because I just like, I'm used to it now. I don't think about it that much, and I just like put things all over my face that are like super expensive.
Hedonic adaptation, girl.
Yes, exactly. Good Lord, the hedonic adaptation.
Every single thing. You got to now find a new routine every friggin' 3 months so that you can be stimulated and excited in this world.
Well, anyways, I found that like, I don't know. I find face creams fascinating, but I think a lot of other people do a lot more than we do. So I'd be really curious for people to let us know like what they think about this conversation. If they have any sort of other things that they swear by, I would love to look more into it. Maybe make an ASAP Science video, because right now I have it based on sort of like 4 or 5 studies I've read in a book, but I'm sure there are people who have read a lot about this,
like in depth into this.
Yeah. And I'm curious where the science, you know, lines up with a lot of the claims in this like billion-dollar industry.
I think we should make some videos. Skin is just very interesting, whether we're talking about wrinkles or not. Even thinking about makeup application, sunscreen application, the sun exposure, like our
the organ that we all see, like we can actually like
touch, and it's
I don't know what my liver looks like, but I know what my skin looks like.
Yeah, the liver might not be so good at this age, but
oh my gosh, we're not that old. It's a very adaptable organ.
True. Okay, I just was trying to make.
Are you dragging on me for drinking? I am not. I don't drink that much. I swear, I don't drink that much.
Oh man. Okay, yeah, no, I'm actually curious what everyone thinks. I think we should look more into it and make some cool videos about this other podcast. Maybe bring on some skin experts onto the podcast. But you know, hashtag Side Note Podcast, or tweet us or Instagram us or whatever if you want to know or tell us more about this. Otherwise, we will see you guys next week for another podcast.
Peace.
Bye.